Hi there, my name is Guilherme and welcome to GeeklyEDU Mathematics. Today we're going to solve problems related to the double and half-angle identities. So it's pretty important that you watch our previous videos on the theory about those two topics before watching this one. In the last video about the half-angle identities, I challenged you guys to demonstrate these two other identities, these two other half-angle identities for the tangent. So let's start by demonstrating them. So for this first one here, that states that the tangent of a over 2 equals 1 minus cosine of a over sine of a, we can start by remembering that the tangent is the sine over the cosine, and also remember the two half-angle identities for sine and cosine that we demonstrated in the last video. So from here we can simply calculate the tangent, which is the square root of 1 minus cosine of a over 2 over the cosine, which is the square root of cosine of a plus 1 over 2. Now we can simplify this expression a little bit. We can multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 2. And then we have this expression, okay? You're just simplifying, cutting these two 2's over here. Now from here, we can multiply the top and the bottom part by the square root of 1 minus cosine of a. And you will understand why we're doing this. When we do it, we have this big expression here, which is the top part squared, okay, 1 minus cosine of a. And down here we have cosine of a plus 1 times 1 minus cosine of a. And if you pay attention to this, this is the difference of two squares. Imagine that cosine of a is x, okay? So we have x plus 1 times 1 minus x. This would be equal to 1 squared minus x squared. So that's what we have over here. So we have this top part, the entire top part squared over 1 minus cosine squared of a. Okay? Now, we want to simplify this a little bit more, right? So we have that thing that relates the 1 and cosine squared with the sine, which is our Pythagorean identity, right? So sine squared of a plus cosine squared of a equals 1. Or sine squared of a equals 1 minus cosine squared of a. So this bottom part here is actually sine squared of a. Now we have something that's squared on the top and something that's squared on the bottom, and we have a square root here. So you can just simply take the square root and we achieve our identity, right? The tangent of half an angle is 1 minus cosine of a over the sine of a. Now the second identity. So the second identity states that the tangent of a over 2 equals sine of a over the cosine of a plus 1. And how do we demonstrate it? Well, we can start from our last identity that we have just demonstrated, okay? Now from here, we can multiply the top and the bottom part by 1 plus cosine of a. And I think you already know why, right? Because on the top here, now we have the difference of two squares, right? Which is 1 minus cosine squared of a. And the bottom part, we have simply sine of a multiplying 1 plus cosine of a. Now from here again, you remember that this thing on the top is actually this sine squared of a by the Pythagorean identity. Okay, now we have sine squared here and sine of a here. We can just simplify it, okay, divide sine squared by sine, and we have the identity we want to demonstrate, that the tangent of a over 2 equals the sine of a over the 1 plus cosine of a. Now let's go to our last exercise. Okay, we want to simplify this expression over here, which is 1 minus cosine of 2a over the sine of 2a. So let's play a little bit with the double angle identities, okay? So in our last video about the double angle identities, we've demonstrated that the sine of 2a equals 2 times the sine of a times the cosine of a, and also that the cosine of 2a equals 1 minus 2 times the sine squared of a. Or we can rewrite this expression here and say that the 2 times sine squared of 2 times the squared sine of a equals 1 minus the cosine of 2a. Now we have an expression for the sine and for the cosine, okay? And if you note, this top part here, it's exactly 2 times sine squared of a, okay? Is our identity. And this thing here is also 2 times the sine of a times the cosine of a. Now, let's just plug in this over here, okay? And we have 2 sine squared of a here and 2 sine of a down here. So we can divide one by another, right? So this expression is actually sine of a over the cosine of a. And well, you could be satisfied with this, right? But just remember that the sine over the cosine is actually the tangent. So this is another expression to write the tangent, okay, using, of course, double angles. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed and see you next time.
Thanks for watching our math videos. We love helping you learn. Please be sure to subscribe and check out our other topics.